In this movie, I'm going to show you how to do the actual EyeModelFit. And to do that, we're going to go to the Tools, Find Pupil Locations. And I'm going to make this screen a little bigger here. What you can see is if we scroll along here, we see the eye moving as the person is looking at different locations. And the first thing we need to do is to compute the min, max, and the average, which will help us define those areas that contain the pupil information. We use a thresholding operation to do an initial guess as to where the location of the pupil is, and then after that we'll do some more refined procedures. So if we click the min here you can see very clearly where the pupil is located, and now I'm going to drag this rectangle down and then use the width to encapsulate the width and the height slider to encapsulate the height. And now if I go to the back to the original view, when I scroll along here you can see that the pupil is always located inside this rectangle here. And we can look at the max and find out all the locations that contain the corneal reflection here. Alright, good. So the next step is to go to the thresholds, and here is where we actually tell the program what the pupil looks like in terms of the gray levels. And so if I click the pupil and then I change the pupil threshold, I want to make this sort of, that's a pretty good region right there where it's got a few holes in it, kind of looks like Swiss cheese. It's okay if this little bite is taken out. The program is actually designed to handle that. And if I scroll along to different locations, this is a very clean image, so we'll get a good estimation of the pupil location. Let's do the same thing for the corneal reflection. We'll slide this up so we get a good capture of just the corneal reflection without any other information. The program is taking the largest region in this area. So that seems to be a good threshold for the pupil and the corneal reflection. And while we're here, we'll say estimate pupil locations. That just allows the program to go through and find the locations of all of the pupils or many of the pupils, and that will help us see if our EyeModelFit that I'll do next is good for all of the different eye regions. Alright, so the next step while that's working is to go to the EyeModel, and what we're going to do is click on the dropper for the pupil gray level. I'm going to click somewhere in the middle of the pupil gray. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to turn on unsharpening. Almost every image benefits from some amount of unsharpening. You can see how it really brings out the edges, which is what this program needs. So I'm going to click in the middle of the pupil here for the pupil. For the corneal reflection, I'm going to click in the middle of the white circle here. And for the background, I'm going to choose a region that's just outside the pupil, like right in this region right in here. I'll also turn on Detect Pupil Angle. And let's see what this looks like in terms of the model fit. So let's turn on Automatically Test Model. And now the model thinks for a minute, and it's doing a nice capture of the edge of the pupil here. So I like this parameter set, so I'm going to add it to my list here. So this is a parameter set that's good for this particular region right here. Now because we've finished estimating the pupil locations, we can go through and test it at different locations. So if I turn off this dropper here, I get a crosshairs, and now if I click in another region like I just clicked here, this shows me what the model fit looks like for this region. And you can see it's not doing really all that great in the top, so I'm going to add a new one that'll be good for this general region right here. And now I'll start adjusting my parameters for this particular region. I can leave the corneal reflection the same, and let's just adjust the gray level. And now it seems like it's doing a better fit. In fact, if I click up here, it's doing a very nice job of capturing both the pupil and the corneal reflection. So I'm going to click plus to update that, and let's try some other regions right here. Now this, by the way, is the specific reason that we designed the forward eye model. You can see that the corneal reflection is taking a bite out of our pupil, and that's something that if you just did an ellipse finding routine, it would have difficulty with. So what we basically do is do a forward eye model where we paint the entire image gray, the same gray level as the outside the pupil, and then we draw an ellipse in this region and a white circle here, and we basically minimize the parameters of these different locations of different objects to try to find the best match between our forward eye model and the actual image. And this is doing a very nice job of capturing that, so I'm going to add that as a third parameter set. Now you might wonder, when do these different parameter sets get used? And so if we turn on the show config bound, any region that's in this area, any pupil that's located in this area, is going to use our first parameter set. If I click up here, it's going to be using the other one. This is going to be a difficult one because it's kind of mid-blink. And here it's using the one I just added. So we'll click in these different regions to make sure that our EyeModelFit is doing a good job, and it seems like it's capturing the location of the pupil fairly well. I'm going to add one more in here just for the center. It seems like it could use some tuning up in here, so I'll change the level of the background. There, it's a little bit better. Add that. Alright, so I'm going to do an initial fit of the eye model. I can come back and tweak it if I detect some noise later on. But let's save these settings here. We'll just save it as the default fit eye model. And now I'm going to go ahead and run the EyeModelFit. And it's going to ask me to save it again, so I'll save it. And now it's going to use all 4 cores in my computer, and we'll have it save everything in its default location. I'll just click Run here. And now what it's going to do is go through all of the different EyeModelFits. This will take about 10 or 15 minutes, but when it's done, we'll come back in the next movie and I'll show you how to import the gaze data into the program and then do the actual calibration.